thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your host, Jason Beck, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Yes. Good morning, everybody. That's right. It is Tuesday, November 11th. And, Todd, you're going to love this.
11/11.
It's 11/11. You are so right about that. It's also National Sundae Day.
What? What does that even mean?
Sundays, Todd.
Sundays, like ice cream.
Yeah, exactly. Ice cream, bro.
Sundays. D-A-E.
Sundays, bro.
Got it.
Sundays,
Not
bro.
a big Sunday.
Why not?
Happy for those people who like Sunday.
Why not? We all know you're nuts.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is true, but I don't need.
You don't need bananas?
Sweet bananas, but mixed in with chocolate fudge and.
Interesting.
Us older guys, we got to eat healthy so we can stay alive.
I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that, buddy. I totally understand that.
Yeah.
Well, it's
I think sugar is worse than cocaine.
Is it?
Worse than heroin.
It's like cocaine. I'm like, man.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Well, you know what else it is today, you guys?
Couldn't imagine.
Because you guys are so funny. Of course, it's also Veterans Day today.
Well, we knew that.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you to all veterans, current, present, and
future. Yes. I have a question.
Past, present, and
past, present, and future. D, all of the above. So the question is, Todd, is when we have a AI robotic force, are we going to consider those robots veterans?
That's a good question, but I doubt it.
You doubt it. Fair enough.
Or maybe when they get recycled once they become a veteran.
Well, I was going to say, what do they consider their old plane stuff that are like taken out of the Air Force? I know the pilots definitely have an affinity and passion for those.
They're
veterans, are they retired?
They're retired. They're retired planes. Yeah, they're referred to as retired planes. I have a buddy who has a bunch of them. Yes,
I guess they'll be retired robots then.
Retired robots. Interesting.
Because what about the drones?
Exactly.
Considered just junk metal at that point, right?
I mean, that's
scrap metal.
It's a lot of vape carts hardware, Todd.
For sure.
Guess it depends how sentient they are.
Oh, I see what you guys did there. That was pretty good, Michael. That was pretty good, I must say. Well, and thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. There's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above and down below to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, X, Instagram, Facebook, Kick, as well as on our very own website at www.highat9news.com. So welcome to everyone joining us from any one of those platforms. And man, you guys, I have a tale of California, of what is happening out here, because everyone happens to be on survival mode. And it was once California's top pot producing county. And now it's a total bust, you guys. That's right. Monterey County hasn't lived up to its prophesized future as America's cannabis powerhouse. But Mike Hackett's Monterey County cannabis farm is buzzing with energy on this sunny day in July. Trucks drive between greenhouses, dropping off supplies. Farm workers in hoodies sort through tables filled with young cannabis plants and just 6 inches tall, while dozens of workers in nearby building trim marijuana flower by the bucket load. The whole scene looks like living proof of the economic benefits of cannabis legalization. But as Hackett stands inside one of his 10 greenhouses, thousands of ripe plants swaying around him in a wind produced by the facility's constantly humming fans, he admits the entire operation is on the verge of going silent. That's right. In a quote, he says, "We're in survival mode right now. We are barely floating by on a week-to-week basis," Hackett told SF Gate. He was able to hold on through the summer and early fall, but in early November, he said he's finally about to pull the plug, and his family's Riverview farms could soon become the latest victim of the boom and bust of the Monterey County cannabis. This region on California's central coast, with its fertile Salinas Valley, located 60 miles south of San Jose, was an early winner after state voters legalized cannabis in 2016. Millions of dollars of cannabis investment flowed into the valley, which had been an agricultural powerhouse for over a century, and by 2020, Monterey was producing more packaged cannabis goods than any other county in the state. But the fall came quickly, and production levels dropped by 43% between 2021 and 2024, while the amount of packaged products has fallen a whopping 72%, according to sales data. The revenue has dropped 80% across that same period, and the majority of legal cannabis businesses that launched in Monterey County have now failed, according to a recent county report. "Cannabis has bottomed out, and it's not what people thought it would be," said Michelle House, the county's cannabis program manager. She blamed the business failures on too many people getting into the industry during the green rush. Oh, how about you take a look at yourself, lady? Oh, man. "Everybody up and down California put their oar in the water," she said. House thinks the local industry is in a better place than it was during the crash in 2023, pointing to county data that shows that the local industry's total licensed cultivation area hasn't fallen during the past 2 years. But there are signs that the market could keep falling. Illegal cannabis farms appear to be coming back in the valley, and authorities raided one Monterey County farm this summer that was formally licensed but turned into a huge illegal operation with $125 million worth of cannabis, the largest such raid in the state this summer. And Hackett said the few people still hanging on to licensed farms could fail before the winter is over. But Monterey had a quick rise because legal cannabis came quickly to Monterey County, with entrepreneurs eyeing the futile Salinas Valley even before voters legalized cannabis in 2016. By the time legalization became official, hundreds of millions of dollars were already flooding into the area as operators built some of the world's biggest industrial cannabis operations. Cannabis farmers saw a lot to like in the area, especially in the Salinas Valley, formed by a river of the same name that flows between two mountain ranges and empties into Monterey Bay. The valley has been called the county's salad bowl, thanks to its production of salad and vegetables. It's an ideal climate to grow cannabis year-round, unlike Northern California, where growers must stop for the winter. The valley was also littered with empty greenhouses waiting for someone to find a use for them. Free trade deals in the 1990s had destroyed the local cut flower industry, leaving 9 million square feet of greenhouse space empty across the valley floor, according to a 2021 Monterey civil grand jury report that examined the cannabis industry's rise. A green rush of cannabis companies flooded the valley, and there was soon talk that its new nickname was America's Cannabis Bucket, according to a 2017 story in the New York Times. The story proliferated a new 47-acre cannabis operation built by State House Holdings, the parent company. That's right, the parent company to legendary Oakland dispensary Harborside. The paper called it one of the largest marijuana farms in the world, and Steve D'Angelo, the company's executive director, told the Times that cannabis would soon be legal nationwide, and mega Monterey farms like his would inevitably take over the country. In a quote, California is destined to do with cannabis what we've done with every other fruit and vegetable, and that's take half of the national market, D'Angelo said that back in 2017 in his story. But there was a great fall, not a great wall, but a great fall. And while other county governments in the traditional growing regions of Northern California struggled through the basics of licensing farms, Monterey County officials quickly approved new pot farms that were soon cranking out cannabis by the millions of pounds, making it an early winner during the heady first few years of legalization era. By 2021, Monterey County produced 5.6 million pounds of cannabis and over 25,000 packaged cannabis goods, according to sales data. And as a result, cannabis tax revenue flowed into the county coffers, pulling in a $20.1 million that same year. And cannabis was suddenly the second largest source of revenue for the county budget and a major player in the agricultural economy. But the cannabis boom collapsed nearly as fast as it launched, and legal farms that were built under the assumption that national legalization would happen and California would be legally supplying pot to other states crumbled as those business plans hit the cold reality of federal inaction. Congress has not made any meaningful changes to federal cannabis law in the 8 years since D'Angelo made that prophecy. His own company, State House Holdings, collapsed last year and is selling its Monterey facility through a receivership. Other major companies have gone through similar path. Lowell Farms, at one time one of California's largest cannabis companies, had invested over $19 million on a 10-acre farm in Monterey County that it had been growing on since 2017. It eventually had to sell the farm and lease it back, but even that deal went sour, and the company left Salinas last year while facing a $36 million lawsuit over alleged damages. Monterey County is not alone when it comes to its cannabis decline. The entire state's industry has gone through a severe contraction during that time period, with other cultivation regions like Humboldt County and Santa Barbara County seeing a similar reduction in tax revenue and farm production. But farmers in Monterey County say that local policies have put them at a disadvantage with high regulatory costs and cultivation taxes. And the county civil grand jury report reached a similar conclusion, warning that county inspectors put a high regulatory burden on farms and require at least $500,000 before cultivation can begin. Gavin Kogan, a co-founder of Lowell, told the news outlet The Monterey County Now in 2023 that the county was overtaxing cannabis and had fumbled the lead because it got greedy and refused to adjust. The county has dropped its tax rate considerably over the years. The county originally charged marijuana farmers $15 a square foot in 2017, with plans to increase that to $25, but it has instead fallen to between 71 cents and $2.13 per square foot, depending on the farm type. Monterey County has not gone as far as other places such as Humboldt County, which has repealed its cannabis-specific cultivation tax. And a farm considers their future because back on his farm, Hackett blamed his business's dire future on the continued taxes, as well as the county's expensive regulations, which required him to spend $1 million creating sprinkler systems for his entire farm. He said if he used his greenhouse for any other crop, he wouldn't need to pay those costs and would instead have a profitable business. The pay nothing. They don't have fire sprinklers or anything because it's an ag product and it is the same type of building, Hackett said. He has also faced other challenges since getting into the industry. Review Farms paid $400,000 fine in 2021 after the county accused him of running an extraction lab without the correct permits. And Hackett said the family already had state permits and he paid the fine just to avoid even higher legal costs of fighting the county. Hackett also faced a felony cocaine charge after a tiny amount of cocaine was found on him in 2017, and it led to San Benito County authorities raiding his home, where they didn't find any other drugs, but they did seize over $700,000 in cash he was storing from his cannabis business. He said the entire investigation was because law enforcement knew he couldn't put his cannabis cash in the bank and were trying to force him into asset forfeiture. Mike's daughter, Michelle Hackett, has since taken over running daily operations at the farm, and she said the farm is selling every pound of cannabis it produces, but wholesale prices have fallen so far the sales barely cover her costs. She worried shutting down will deprive her staff of regular full-time jobs, which are in the farming community. Cannabis is one of the few crops that could employ people 365 days a year without having to uproot their families, uproot their children, Michelle Hackett said. Hackett said, it makes him sick to my stomach thinking about shutting down his farm after all the work his family has put into it, and it would put his remaining 60 full-time employees out of a job. I can put my licenses on hold, but the problem is I have some loyal people working for me since day one. They're not going to get a paycheck, Hackett said. I don't want to do that. Well, he doesn't want to do that. Shout out to Hackett for wanting to keep his employees paid. But I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this. California, the whole industry's going down the drain. What do y'all have to say about this?
I want to know what a tiny amount of cocaine is, according to authorities.
I mean, I'd say a tiny amount would be, realistically anywhere from like an 8-ball and below. Yeah.
8-ball and below.
8-ball and below, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
ball,
That's good.
ball,
I'm with you
ball.
on that one.
Yeah. That's just an educated guess though, Todd. You know what I mean? Don't.
Got it.
Yeah. Not.
It's a true testament to the overtaxing of cannabis, not only in California, but around the country.
Yeah. Can you believe?
It's tough for companies to make money. It's so hard.
Can you believe the regulator, the spokesperson for the county saying, the industry seems like it's in better shape now than it has been in a while, and actually took no accountability for the fact of the collapse of the industry. Like with their overtaxation and anything, they just pass the buck. It's just so much of the same old shit from these people.
Yeah, it's typical politics. Right in front of our eyes.
Oh, the politics are so great in front of our eyes, Todd.
And I think most of them don't care about the industry, so they are not as knowledgeable about them as they probably should be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, most of them just don't care. They only get involved in the industry if it helps them politically.
Mm-hmm.
And the funny thing is that it would help everybody politically if they would just get on board. But I don't know. It just makes me crazy when people make mass decisions.
The fact that she tried to say the reason for the collapse of the industry is that too many people threw their oars in the water, I just kind of find very a very uneducated comment, because ultimately we want lots of people to be in the industry, and we want lots of people to be in lots of industries, and let the free market decide.
Yeah.
But the reality is that the reason of this failure is because of overtaxation and overregulation. Just like Hackett pointed out in his thing, they made me put sprinklers in here at a over $1 million cost, and there's no need for that. It's totally stupid.
Unless there's a fire.
They have plenty of water there, Todd. They have plenty of water.
It's just a building code, kind of thing.
Yeah, but if he had any other was farming any other type of crop, he wouldn't need that. And so, that's my point, is that if you don't need it for any other type of crop, why do you need it for cannabis? Because that doesn't make any sense at all. It's not like cannabis is more flammable than everything else.
I remember at one point they were negotiating one of the bills for nursing homes in Florida, and they required, it changed after the hurricanes, this is probably 7-8 years ago, to require all nursing homes to have backup power and stuff like that. Whereas from the get-go, cannabis cultivation facilities in Florida were always required to have backup power. How does that make sense?
Well,
it makes more sense to care for the plants than for the people.
Well, weed for the people on that one, but I think nursing homes should have backup generators. You have a lot of people that are on ventilators and other life-saving devices, and so you got to have backup power for all of that stuff. Not to mention, our whole medical system operates off of the internet pretty much now, so you can't have an internet collapse out there, or else things are going to happen.
That seems like an absolute necessity.
Yeah.
Compared to your plants.
Yeah, that's critical infrastructure.
So,
I was just kidding.
Just ass backwards politicians. Yeah.
Todd.
Ass backwards politicians.
Todd. Liz, you have any thoughts on this story going down the drain? It's a sad state of affairs out here in California.
It is, and the fact that nobody takes accountability.
Mm-hmm.
There's no accountability. And again, you're right. It's all about the taxes. Everything has to be taxed.
Mm-hmm.
Why did a cannabis cultivator need a sprinkler system?
Mm-hmm.
When they're cultivating, and they probably have a much better sprinkler system to grow their plants than a fire sprinkler. So to me, that makes absolutely no sense.
Mm-hmm.
Just another way to make money. Just another way to get their hands in it, and showing the companies that do have their hands in the pockets of these politicians. They're proving that they're, that's the side they're on, but trying to make it look like they are for the people, but they're not.
Mm-hmm.
They're for their own pockets.
That is.
And until that changes, nothing's going to change.
Nothing's ever going to change. The only thing that's going to change is that we're going to roll into this next commercial, and we are going to be right back.
Busy street.
Oh, grass grows. Grass grows where the water flows, you guys.
Unless it's busy with animals.
Oh, man. Mostly deer. Mostly deer, Michael. Mostly deer. But
there you go.
I have some more sad news for you guys today. I have 3 bearing of bad news stories for you guys. Okay, so I'm just giving you the forewarning. Because the Senate rejects an attempt to save the hemp industry from the THC ban in a key spending bill. That's right. The Senate has rejected an amendment to a critical spending bill that would have removed language to ban hemp products containing THC. After the chamber cleared the appropriations minibus package for floor consideration on Sunday, senators on Monday took up the measure of Senator Rand Paul, Republican from Kentucky, that he said would prevent the eradication of the hemp market that's matured since the crop's federal legalization under the 2018 Farm Bill. The amendment was killed in a 76-24 vote on a motion to table. In a quote, "My amendment would strip the provision designed to regulate the hemp industry to death. The bill, as it now stands, overrides the regulatory frameworks of several states, cancels the collective decisions of hemp consumers, and destroys the livelihoods of hemp farmers," Paul said on the floor ahead of the vote. "And it could come at a worse time for America's farmers. Times are tough for our farmers," Senator Jeff Merkley, Democrat from Oregon, spoke in support of the amendment, saying the ban would wipe out an industry that we have spent more than a decade creating. Marijuana Mitch, Senator Mitch McConnell, Republican from Kentucky, who has championed the prohibition, said the companies have exploited a loophole in previous legislation he sponsored to legalize industrial hemp. The revision to the law, he argued before making the motion to table Paul's amendment, will keep the dangerous products out of the hands of children while preserving the hemp industry for farmers. The broader legislation, the ban, is included is set to be considered imminently. If it advances and passes into the House, that could put an end to the historically long government shutdown that enters its 6th week starting on Tuesday. Ahead of Monday's vote, Senator Patty Murray, Democrat from Washington, the top Democrat on the Senate Appropriations Committee, said Senator Janine Sheenahan, Democrat from New Hampshire, the party's top member of the subcommittee that handles agricultural spending, flagged the Paul amendment and notified members that they would be voting against the proposal, signaling to the caucus that they should follow suit. In a quote, "The provision in the bill looks to address the wide range of intoxicating hemp products that have showed up in gas stations, vape shops, and online stores," they said in a one-pager. "These hemp intoxicants now make up a huge industry, often operating without rules and regulations and raising new public health and safety concerns." Paul's amendment would have simply removed language inserted into the minibus, which was released over the weekend, that would severely restrict the types of hemp products that could legally be sold. The vote to pass the legalization comes amid a ruckus debate that's seen competing interests from lawmakers to consumer brands to alcohol and cannabis companies seek to influence the final product. Notably, a White House spokesperson said on Monday that President Donald J. Trump supports the proposed ban on hemp products containing THC in the Senate spending bill. I wonder who that was. And while Trump endorsed cannabis reform on the campaign trail, including a pending proposal to reschedule marijuana, he's also voiced concerns about non-medical cannabis use. During his first term, he signaled the 2018 Farm Bill federally legalized hemp and its derivatives, but he's been less vocal about the issue related to the cannabis cousin. See, I'm going to call bullshit on that because he actually posted a whole video on True Social, but I'm calling bullshit on all of those statements. But anyways, meanwhile, a coalition of alcohol companies sent a letter to senators on Monday imploring them to support the current hemp ban language, and the alcohol companies separately pushed Congress to hold the line on the hemp provisions in a letter to leadership last week. Under current law, cannabis products are considered legal hemp if they contain less than 0.3% delta-9 THC on a dry weight basis, and the new legislation specifies that within 1 year of enactment, the weight would apply to total THC, including delta-8 and other isomers. It would also include any other cannabinoids that have similar effects or are marketed to have similar effects on humans or animals as tetrahydrocannabinol, as determined by the Secretary of Health and Human Services. The new definition of legal hemp would additionally ban any intermediate hemp-derived cannabinoid products which are marketed or sold as final product or directly to an end consumer for personal or household use, as well as products containing cannabinoids that are synthesized or manufactured outside of the cannabis plant or not capable of being naturally produced by it. Legal hemp products would be limited to a total of 0.4 milligrams per container of total THC or any other cannabinoids with similar effects. Within 90 days of the bill's enactment, the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, and other agencies would need to publish a list of all cannabinoids known to FDA to be capable of being naturally produced by cannabis sativa L plant as reflected in peer-reviewed literature. All tetrahydrocannabinol class cannabinoids known to the agency to be naturally occurring in the plant, and all other known cannabinoids with similar effects to or marketed to have similar effects to tetrahydrocannabinol class cannabinoids. Hope you kept up with that, Michael. The language slightly differs from provisions included in legislation that had previously advanced out of the House and Senate Appropriations Panel, which would have banned products containing any quantifiable amount of THC to be determined by the HHS Secretary and Secretary of Agriculture. Separately, the newly released appropriations legislation excludes language that had been passed by either chamber earlier this year to VA doctors recommended medical cannabis to their military veteran patients in states where it is legal. And the appropriations bill's advancement comes amid a stepped-up push for parties on both sides of hemp debate to influence Congress as they negotiated the deal. Last week, more than 50 alcohol distributors have joined together to oppose efforts in Congress to ban hemp products with THC, stressing to lawmakers that as demand for alcohol has shifted downward, the cannabis market has helped sustain their industry. Interestingly, though, there's particular division among alcohol stakeholders, many of which reported lobbying on hemp issues this year. There appears to be a disagreement over the path forward as it concerns wholesalers who distribute alcohol and hemp products and major brands marketing their own beverages. A leading consumer trade association that counts among its members corporations such as Coca-Cola, General Mills, Kraft Heinz, and Nestle is also putting pressure on Congress to ban hemp products with THC. Meanwhile, a bipartisan group of 39 state and territory attorney generals recently called on Congress to clarify the federal definition of hemp and impose regulations preventing the sale of intoxicating cannabinoid products. And Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison, a Democrat who helped lead the letter to congressional leaders last month, defended his decision amid criticism from industry stakeholders and advocates who questioned why top prosecutors from that state have robust regulated hemp markets such as Minnesota would encourage the federal recriminalization of such products. Two GOP lawmakers, McConnell and Representative Andy Harris, Republican from Maryland, have pushed aggressively for an outright ban on hemp products containing THC, but others such as Rand Paul have insisted that such a policy change would devastate the industry, and Paul previously cautioned that he'd go so far as to hold up large-scale spending legislation if a full ban was kept intact. The senator also pushed back against the recent letter from the state and territory attorneys generals who implored Republican leaders to fully prevent the marketing of intoxicating hemp products. And as far as legislative options go, Senator Paul did not put forward legislative language recently to require a study and report on state regulatory models for hemp that could inform future revisions of the federal law, rather than prohibit sales altogether as McConnell would have it. In August, McConnell, who ushered in the federal legalization bill under the 2018 Farm Bill, took to the Senate floor to criticize those who opposed the ban, including Paul. And meanwhile, Paul recently filed a standalone bill that would go in the opposite direction of the hemp ban, proposing a triple of concentration of THC that the crop could legally contain while addressing multiple other concerns the industry has expressed about federal regulations. The senator introduced this legislation titled the Hemp Economic Mobilization Plan, better known as the Hemp Act, in June, and it mirrors versions that he's sponsored over the last several sessions, you guys. Well. Senator Rand Paul out there standing on a limb, and it's not even a cannabis sativa L limb, and he's not even getting help from Democrats, and I can't wait to hear what Todd, you got to say about this.
I think that they should redefine what hemp is. This 0.3% THC of actually Delta 9 THC, right? Mm-hmm. is just a bad description of what difference between hemp and cannabis really
but the Farm
is.
Bill legalized the whole plant all the way through, Todd, and that's the best way that we need to move forward.
But it didn't legalize the ability to synthesize the plant and create intoxicant. Right?
Well, I think we should be more worried about synthesized music than we should about synthesized hemp.
Yeah, it clearly does. Clearly does allow all that.
Yeah.
No, I think it's a loophole in the hemp law that allows people to take hemp, add some chemicals, and through some chemical reaction, make it, intoxicant. Mm-hmm. I don't think you should be able to do that. And if you can do that, it should be regulated like cannabis. And I know we've talked about this many times on this show, and it's funny because, Michael, you said last time that you don't think hemp should be regulated as cannabis. You think cannabis should be regulated as hemp, which I actually don't hate that idea, quite honestly. But while cannabis is regulated the way it is, I do believe that hemp, any kind of toxicant made with the hemp plant, also be tested, also be regulated just like cannabis.
Mm-hmm.
I feel about it.
Yeah, and I guess think there should be a more middle ground between the two of them, right? There shouldn't be the super stringent, stronger than our food regulations on cannabis, and also no regulations on hemp, because it is important for the pesticide issues. It is important for the mold issues and things of that nature. Absolutely, that we should all be able to know that it's safe to use. So I think there really just needs to be coming together of the two, and we create an age-gated market for hemp and cannabis products that are for consumable.
Easy peasy.
And then we have a separate, industrial hemp, model, which really has to have no regulations at all, unless we're seeing some of these pesticides and things like that go into the soil, end up in your home, in the concrete, or in your clothes, or whatever. And I don't know anything on that aspect of it, but that's really what we need to do. And this continued debate about it while people still get locked up is ridiculous, and it's just a human rights violation. It really is.
And Michael, to your point, Brian Dombrowski in the chat, he says, if this does get passed as is, we have 365 days. I think they did that very strategically, and I happen to agree with Brian's analysis on this. He says, guess what will be finalized within 365 days? That's right. The Farm Bill, baby. Game on. And so that is going to be the most. I happen to agree with Brian on that analysis right there, that a recodifying of the 2018 Farm Bill, which could reappropriate hemp and create all of these other different definitions and whatnot, and could include Senator Paul's 1% for THC. Seems like that is ultimately going to be the path forward.
Hopefully it's within Trump's definition of 2 weeks in the rescheduling too.
It's not.
And that's done before then.
All of these things.
365 days, you still don't think we're going to have rescheduling?
Well, no, I don't think we're going to. No, I don't. I think the rescheduling thing is not going to happen until next October. It's going to be the October surprise leading up into the midterms. That's when I anticipate that something like that will happen. I don't think anything like that is going to happen.
Disgusting. disgusting playing with people's lives.
We're a political
when
pawn, bro.
it's
We're a political
valuable
pawn.
medicine.
You know, Michael, I agree with you on that, but you know what? The cannabis industry overall doesn't put in enough money to make their issue viable. These people sit on their hands and their asses all day and don't play the political game. Do you know how many calls I got yesterday and messages from people all freaking out? And you know what my answer was to every single one of them? Was guess what? You guys don't pay to have these problems fixed. So it's on your own accord that these things are happening to you because you guys do not put any serious thought or financial resources into your government affairs agenda to stop problems like this. So you get exactly what's coming to you.
Well, I mean, yeah,
So if
I
you
consider
pay-
that a fundamental flaw in our system entirely. So that's like, I understand
That's
that it's
right.
crooked, but oh, it makes you even more sick.
Mm-hmm.
It's crooked that we have to pay to get a plant
Mm-hmm.
to be able to use that was given.
But that's
to
how
us
that's
by
how
our
the system has
creator.
always worked. That's how the system's always worked.
Well, it doesn't mean it's right.
It's time for
I'm not
some
saying it's
anarchy,
right. I'm not
man.
saying it's right or it's wrong. I'm not advocating for whether it's
No,
right or
I
wrong.
getcha.
I'm just saying that is the name of the game. And if people want to play in the big leagues and play the game, they need to come with some big pockets and some big spending and some allocations and play the game.
And they're going up
100%
against
true.
some very, very powerful
Yep.
and pocket-filled people.
Yep.
You know, the alcohol industry alone and big pharma.
Mm-hmm.
Their pockets run very, very deep.
Exactly.
And in order to,
We're-
compete, which is what
You
we're
know,
basically doing.
The cannabis. Oh, please go ahead. Listen, let me finish your thought by all means.
To go up against these guys, you're absolutely right. We need the deep pockets. We need backers.
Mm-hmm.
We need sponsors. And we have to figure out how to get enough people to back us or sponsors.
Well,
That's what we need. We need money. The cannabis industry, they're taxing us so bad, and they're preventing us from really making solid money. Everybody that I talk to, especially over here, they're just trying to keep their lights on at this point because there's so many fees and regulations and taxes and
And fire
it's hard
sprinklers are so
to-
expensive.
Yeah, so it's hard to collect that money to be able to put your money where your mouth is.
Well, I understand that it's hard, and people need to figure things out and make sacrifices. But I'm going to tell you one other big hindrance that the cannabis industry has. Okay, that is not money related at all. Is the reality that the whole cannabis industry is not unified in one message. I've heard this all the time from staffers in congressional offices and senatorial offices. Is like, you cannabis people, you have one side saying this, you have one side saying another thing, and you guys don't speak from a unified voice. Meanwhile, you have all the hemp advocates that want hemp to be free and whatnot, and then you have people like Kim Rivers and things like that are and GTI that are advocating against hemp and the sale of hemp products, and those people are actually putting real money into the thing. And so you have this whole cross, cross messaging going on, and the politicians are just like, we don't know what the fuck to do. You guys need to get your shit together, and you guys need to figure this out all internally, and then come back to us when you guys got this all figured out, and then we'll come and help you out.
Yep.
I think part of that problem
Maybe.
I think part of that problem is different licenses that are given out, right? There's a dispensary license, there's a cultivation license, there's a testing license. Why isn't there just a marijuana license, right? Why do they have to be separated like that? Because what that creates is us against them. Right? It's the cultivators don't like the dispensaries. Nobody likes the labs, right? And it creates this. I need to do what's right for my business instead of I got to do what's right for my industry. Right? It should be co-opetition, within the cannabis space, and it does need to come together as one industry instead of the cultivators against the dispensaries, against the labs, against the distribution. And so on.
Which is exactly why,
Yeah.
Todd. Which is exactly why, Todd, you should be for hemp.
I am for
And then
I am for hemp, but I'm also I'm for testing of anything that is created to be an intoxicant.
Well, I think we should focus on testing
that's a
all the
terrible
food
thing.
products that everybody consumes, as opposed to all the products and the testing requirements that we have just on this. You'd have a lot more
think we
business
should.
if you had to test all the food, Todd. Just saying.
I think we should. No,
Yeah.
I agree. Food should be tested, but food has a big lobby. Food has spent a lot of money. So,
Oh, look, we're back to that. Look at, we went in a whole circle on that. That was
100%.
It's all about the deep pockets.
Yep,
that's
that's
what
right.
it's all about.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Food isn't even food
Yeah,
anymore, and now our hemp
No.
isn't even hemp anymore because it's being chemically modified.
Any final thoughts on this, Michael, before we move on? You're the lawyer here.
I'm with everybody. We got to legalize it and push and unify these industries. It's one plant, no plant. It sells for $1,500 or $1,000 or $600 a pound, and people have to understand that. Everyone jumped into this as a huge gold rush, and not recognizing that really it comes down to it. It should be treated like an agricultural commodity.
Exactly. Well said, Michael. And on that, we're
The
going
reason
to.
why pot was so expensive is because it was illegal, right? And
Yep.
the black market pricing carried over into the legal market because no one knew how to, really make that change, right?
Well, and at the same time, Todd, we're all capitalists. If people are paying $4,000 a pound, we're not going to say, "Oh, give me 600."
well, of course, we're not going to say
And quite
that.
honestly, the illegal market, their prices have gone down.
Well, they have less overhead and less regulation, so they can go a lot lower and still make a lot more money.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
So you've got them competing with the dispensaries.
Well, of course.
Yeah, I gotta say, in Florida, the prices are pretty much above par for what you can get from a dispensary and to the black market. They're really close right now. It's amazing. But with all these hits on the drug war boats, my understanding is the price of cocaine has escalated significantly.
Yeah, shout out to cocaine again today on today's show. Apparently, cocaine is like really popular on today's show. Well, on that, we're going to roll right in to a state that's known for cocaine, Florida, the great red state of Florida, where Mr. Michael Minardi has his law practice, Minardi Law. He's been helping Canada's patients, advocates, and people subject by the criminal justice system for over the last 20 years. And you can find his law firm, Minardi Law, out there in the great state of Florida. It is none other than Mr. Michael Minardi.
Good morning to everyone on the West Coast, and happy high noon to everyone on the East Coast.
Yeah.
And happy Veterans Day to all our veterans out there. I'm doing this one for you because I think this is an important aspect and an important medicine that all our veterans who suffer from PTSD or depression need to be able to use. This is out of Maryland. Maryland Matters. Task Force endorses move toward natural psychedelics for clinical and recreational use. A state task force studying the pros and cons of psychedelics recommended that state lawmakers take steps towards decriminalizing natural psychedelics for medical and recreational use in the near future. The Maryland Task Force on Responsible Use of Natural Psychedelic Substances, in a report released last week, says that with interest in the medical and therapeutic use of natural psychedelics on the rise, Maryland is well positioned to among the first states to expand access to psychedelic substances. But even as new research shows promising results for use of natural psychedelics to treat challenging mental health conditions, such as PTSD, major depressive disorder, public health advocates urge caution as state lawmakers consider future decriminalization efforts and health policy. It's a big deal, and we need to take it seriously, said Gene Ransom, CEO of Medici, the Maryland State Medical Society. We're not saying we wouldn't learn about it and learn new things, but we need to make sure that we first do no harm, he said. We need to be very careful and very thoughtful. The task force was created in 2024, sponsored by Senator Brian Feldman, Democrat from Montgomery, and Del Landman Gazone, Democrat from Howard, to study and make recommendations for safe, equitable, and evidence-informed statewide approach to natural psychedelics, psilocybin, DMT, and mescaline, excluding peyote. I was really interested in it, particularly for the research that's for our effectiveness for a good number of people on things like PTSD, TBI, traumatic brain injury, treatment-resistant depression. She also noted that nearby areas like Washington, D.C. have a gray market on natural psychedelics, meaning Marylanders may still access them even if they are not currently legal avenues to acquire it in the state. Sure, D.C. is the only place they can access it. If we're going to go out there and do this, we need to be safe and really understand it. The report published last week recommended that Maryland lawmakers first build regulations focusing on psilocybin and substance found in magic mushrooms before moving on to other psychedelics. The top natural psychedelics is an evolving research and legislative field. 12 other states have enacted legislation to study psychedelics or create a task force similar to one in Maryland to recommend policies. A couple of states have already moved to decriminalize the substance for recreational use and therapeutic use. And even though the FDA currently classifies psilocybin as a Schedule I drug, the FDA gave it breakthrough therapy designation in recent years for conditions like treatment-resistant depression and major depressive disorder. That said, the state's task force recognizes potential health and safety challenges in the newer landscape of public health. Phased approach. The task force recommends a multi-step phased approach to start with greater access to psilocybin for medical and therapeutic uses, later expanding to recreational use and commercial sales. That sounds so wonderful. The first phase would be a regulatory framework around psilocybin, which would include creating safety protocols, data monitoring, public education campaigns, law enforcement training, and immediate restorative justice. The policy recommendation would include deprioritization with civil penalties with expungement, meaning law enforcement would treat personal possession and cultivation as the lowest priority. The task force also encouraged expungement for those previously convicted for simple possession. Phase 2 would launch the introduction of psilocybin with medical oversight in clinical settings. Phase 3 would usher in full operation and expansions of psilocybin, which would activate commercial sales and evaluate readiness to expand out to other natural psychedelic substances outside of psilocybin. An independent report conducted by Johns Hopkins included in the task force study noted that while research for therapeutic uses have been promising, there are still potential harms that come with use of natural psychedelics if not handled properly. This is especially the case when psychedelics are used without professional guidance, what could result in adverse psychological reactions, dangerous substance interactions, or acute toxicity, according to the Hopkins report. Even though serotogenic psychedelics appear to have a low abuse potential, even though they're Schedule I substances, their risks outside carefully controlled trials are not well understood. A recreational use has increased adult emergency department visits related to psychedelic use, and poison control centers related to psychedelic use by both adolescents and adults have also increased. The state task force also acknowledges those challenges, but called research on natural psychedelics one of the most rapidly evolving areas of modern medicine. Results are highly promising, but still preliminary, with a strong focus on addressing conditions that are resistant to conventional treatments. But even supporters like them believe that recreational use of psilocybin and other natural psychedelics is a long ways off. Even creating policy around medical and therapeutic use takes time, and it's important not to jump the gun. The state must make sure everybody is on board in a bunch of different ways, including with regard to education of the public, establishment of procedures and guidelines on the sort of more standard medical side. But she said, also respectful traditional use of this, because from a Native American standpoint, substances have been used for hundreds, probably thousands of years. There will be a lot of work to do. I don't think anyone needs to panic that come end of session, we're going to suddenly have full-blown psychedelic availability. My guess is that will take several years. Very interesting. You know, it always questions me as to them recognizing the need to do it safely and to have these options. They don't seem to recognize that tons of people are already using it unsafely, allegedly, and not having many reactions to it. You'd think that they'd want to put a position in a place in safe so people can get it safely now, so they don't may have to worry about some of these toxicity requirements that they were talking about. What do you guys think?
Well,
Well, first, it blows my mind, that the psychedelics really are more they're stronger than cannabis, and yet they seem to be going a lot faster through the process than cannabis is. And again, they're much stronger. As someone who has done that research and development back in the 80s, I can tell you, you go on any of these little trips, you can't drive. You kind of just you veg, and do a lot of laughing. I think
sounds awesome.
they what's that?
So that sounds awesome.
It was the 80s. But I think it has more effects than cannabis, and I think that they're really treating it a lot more positively than they are cannabis. And I don't
that's
think
because
that's
of
fair.
cannabis.
You think so?
Cannabis,
Sorry?
laid the groundwork. I think
Really?
that's because of cannabis and the groundwork that cannabis has laid. As these plant medicines are, finally being looked at as real medicine.
I don't think so. I don't think that's the reason, Todd. I think the reason is because these psychedelics are basically single compound components and not as complicated as cannabis, and that's why it's going to be able to get fast tracked. And because big pharma can see the light at the end of the tunnel by being able to synthesize these things into into compounds in a much faster manner than what they're ever going to be able to make any money off of cannabis with.
Yeah, exactly. For example, mescaline is not a plant. That's so that makes sense. It's something that big pharma can tap into.
Mm-hmm. Go for it.
So mescaline.
That's what it is. That's exactly what it is.
What's that, Michael?
So I think a couple of things. Mescaline comes from a cactus.
Yeah.
Typically. But I think it's the 100 years of stereotypes and 100 years of anti-cannabis propaganda that also gives us this uphill battle. Whereas even in the 60s, there were positive studies on psychedelics for mental health treatments that ended up being shut down. But I think that there just isn't that stereotype against psychedelics like there has been against everything else. And then we also, have a lot of the veterans coming out and supporting it, which I think helps out as well because they have a lot of credibility as opposed to, the long-haired hippie types.
Yeah, but Michael, just to play a little devil's advocate, there's lots of veterans that come out in support of medical cannabis and whatnot, and cannabis saying that provides them a lot of help and relief. And at the same time, there was a whole marketing campaign. You had all these hippies running around tripping like hippies on acid. Just running around doing cartwheels in the streets and all that. And so there was a whole campaign against psychedelics as well, and it's going to cause you to wear tie-dyed shirts and not know what color your shirt is and everything else.
I have never and never even in the 80s on the Just Say No to Drugs saw any negative clips about psychedelics at all in compared to cannabis.
Okay.
Cannabis was always the gateway drug to all these other things. But I know you got me by a few years, so maybe you saw him at your age.
I see what you did there, Michael. That was cute. I
don't even know.
Yeah, that was cute. I just happen to remember a lot of things. People are always like, you know what I mean? Oh, this mind altering, da 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 da. You run around, run around tripping like hippies on acid. I just remember that as a classic saying against it. So that's all.
Yeah, no, I think it is. It was just a very smaller period of time versus from the 1930s up until today. Still, we still have the same
fair. That's fair.
BS rhetoric regarding cannabis.
Right.
Come on, literally, it's kind of ridiculous, because that's how it started, right? With the psychosis, cannabis makes people crazy and psychosis, and that's still what they're pushing today.
Makes the black people rape the white women. So it must be taken away.
Easy there.
I mean, that's what it was. That's what that
was part of it.
Prohibition started.
Oh man.
Yep.
Oh man, you guys. Well, I guess shout out to being a fun guy. And on that, we're going to roll into our next commercial, and we are going to be right back.
Every legend has a humble beginning.
In world news, leaders are gathering today for the annual summit.
I want to tell you something, Che. The government is watching us through the television.
Oh, John.
Look, right there. They're trying to hack into my TV box.
We're still not able to hack into the TV box, sir.
Ha! But they can't.
I've rebuilt the entire electronic system, and it sends and receives signals through quantum phase space. They'll never get in. Engage target.
In other news, local authorities are investigating a series of strange atmospheric phenomena reported by residents.
Ma'am, we're with the federal government. We need to ask you some questions.
John?
Is there a problem? We've been trying to penetrate your TV box for over 6 months.
I told you they were trying to watch us through the TV, but you didn't believe me.
We can't get in, and to be frank, we have no idea what you've created.
Yeah, that's the point. It's called privacy. You know what the Fourth Amendment guarantees?
All we know is that we can't get inside. We want to know if you can create one for us.
QUX. Even the government wants one.
Stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you smash that like button. I know we'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it. And YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.highatnightnews.com.
Introducing QUX Pay, or simply the Pay app.
Where you can pay like it's nobody's business.
Because it isn't. It's what everyone's been clamoring for. It's finally here.
Secure every payment. Your data stays private. QUX will never sell your data for profit, period. Pay friends, family, contacts instantly. No hidden fees. No limits. Spend on the move.
With this patented technology, you can use debit, credit, bank transfers, cash cards, and even crypto completely offline.
Amounts transferred through the Pay app reach their destination instantly. Transfers in a flash. As quick as sending a text. No more waiting around like crypto. Are you ready for the future of payments? The state of the art for money is finally here.
Data privacy and security protocols trusted by militaries and banks worldwide. QUX Pay, the Pay app.
Available as an app and point of sale system, personal and corporate accounts available. Go to QUXPay.com and start using the Pay app today.
And we are back, and we are going to roll right into the golden voice himself, Mr. Todd Denkin. Todd has been a C-level executive in the cannabis and hemp industry, hemp industry, since 2009. He has successfully launched 2 publicly traded cannabis companies in 2009, Phototron Holdings, and in 2014, Digipath Labs, the #1 cannabis testing lab in all of the Silver State of Nevada. And Todd now hosts Becoming the King of Pot on YouTube and other streaming platforms, now available everywhere where you stream. It is none other than Mr. Todd Denkin.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you, fellow correspondents.
Yeah.
Thank you to the High at 9 audience. And thank you to all the veterans.
Yes.
The past,
Without
present, and future veterans for doing what you do. So we can do this kind of thing and act goofy on a podcast every Tuesday. Even though you guys do it every day. So I have some great news for Virginia, as a Virginia senator is very optimistic about legalizing marijuana sales under the new Democratic pro-reform governor. With Virginia Democrats widening their House majority and voters electing a pro-legalization governor during last week's election, one senator from the party says he's, quote, very optimistic the prospect of advancing legalization to create an adult use market in the coming session. In an interview with 13 News Now, Senator Aaron Rouse, a Democrat, was asked about the prospects of moving forward with the cannabis reform and finally implementing commercial sales program years after the legislature legalized possession from and home cultivation by adults. Senator has been the lead sponsor of the legislation to legalize and regulate adult use. That was vetoed by the outgoing GOP governor, said, quote, any measure that we can take to find revenue, optimistic about that approach. Virginia Democrats widening their House majority and voters electing a pro-legalization governor last week. This is all very possible. House also added, we in Virginia have to take every step we can to make sure we can find revenues that strengthen our communities, strengthens the education process, and that puts food on the table, gets people back to work. Since legalizing cannabis possession in 2021, Virginia lawmakers have worked to establish a commercial marijuana market, only to have those efforts consistently stalled under the outgoing Governor Glenn, I don't care what the people voted for, Youngkin, Republican, who twice vetoed measures to enact the voter-approved legislation that were sent to his desk by the legislature. Next session is shaping up to deliver different results. In addition to growing their majority in the assembly, Democrats have now have Abigail Spanberger as the state's next governor, and the party also secured wins in the Commonwealth's lieutenant governor and attorney general races. Spanberger, a former congresswoman, said ahead of the election that, quote, as Virginia takes steps toward creating legalized retail market for cannabis, the Commonwealth needs a clear strategy to set up a market that is safe for consumers, transparent for businesses, and fair to entrepreneurs. He added that revenue from commercial cannabis products must return to Virginia communities and be reinvested for purposes like strengthening our public schools. Governor-elect also said that she will work with leaders in the General Assembly to find a path forward both prioritizes public safety and grows Virginia's economy. Part of that is establishing a formalized, legal, emerging cannabis market. During her time in Congress, Spanberger voted twice on the House floor in support of bills to federally legalize marijuana, also consistently backed a legalization to free up banking services for the industry, protect all state cannabis programs from federal interference, and expand marijuana research. Former Congresswoman additionally opposed a proposal to remove protections for universities that study cannabis. Did vote against, however, measures to lift certain research barriers for Schedule I drugs, and to revise federal policy to prevent past marijuana use from being used as a factor to determine eligibility for security clearance. Spanberger co-sponsored bills to provide medical cannabis for military veterans on 2 occasions. She co-sponsored the Secure and Fair Enforcement Safe Banking Act during the 116th Congress. So, Glenn, I go against the will of the voters. Youngkin is out, and the blue wave has hit Virginia. Then it's about time the people's will be followed instead of some GOP politician who thinks he knows better than the people of the great state of Virginia. I say good riddance to ex-Governor Youngkin. I love saying that. Ex-Governor Youngkin. And welcome Abigail Spanberger. Now, go and do the right thing. Legalize. I'm Todd Denkin with High at 9 News, and what do you guys think about Ms. Spanberger?
She's a total Spanberger, that's for sure, Todd. She's a total Spanberger.
Good one.
Yes.
Good one. I don't know if that's an insult or a compliment.
It's definitely not a compliment.
No.
It's definitely
She's her last name.
You know.
Okay, yeah.
So here's the thing. So I am excited that she's going to advance cannabis policy. There's a lot of other things about her that I don't like and don't agree with at all whatsoever. But I am happy that she's going to enact cannabis policy. We'll see how well that does, because I haven't seen any other Democratic, branch of government actually make a functional framework for operators and for patients and for consumers. But I'm happy to see where this will go. But I'm sure that she's totally going to screw it up, and she's totally going to overtax it and everything else like that. But who knows? Maybe she'll be the next Kathy Hochul.
Whatever she does, it'll be better than douchebag Youngkin, who just kept vetoing the will of the people.
I think that's a fair criticism. That I can take that as a fair criticism, Todd. I'm not mad at that. Governor Youngkin should have enacted some type of a marketplace, but he allowed his own ideology to get in the way of weed for the people and the people's will. So I agree with that criticism on him on that one. But this lady
can we mark this date down on the calendar where Jason actually agreed with me?
I always agree with you, Todd. I always agree with you. It's constantly I agree with you that you're crazy. You know what I mean? But I still agree with you.
I got you.
And bald.
Yeah, and bald. That's right. Yeah. I got 2 turntables and a microphone today.
I don't. At least it's a positive direction. What ends up coming out of it, we never know, as this rhetoric, and we know from the beginning of someone saying something to the final result is always not the same. But hopefully she can, be able to push it through. But hopefully she'll be able to push it through. And
he's not pushing. It was already voted on. All she has to do is sign it into law.
Right, but but at least push it out and open, I guess.
She can't just sign it into law. She can sign it into law, but they still have to create a regulatory framework and a whole host of infrastructure for the state to be able to govern it and how they're going to do a rollout and all that. There's a lot of work that needs to be done in this.
But first,
that's where Todd is where the whole thing gets screwed up. You know what I'm saying? What's that saying? What's that saying, Todd?
I agree with you, man.
What's that saying, Todd? The path
to hell. Too many cooks spoil the soup.
No. It's the path to hell was paved with good intentions. Something like that. Yeah.
But that's the problem. You're going to get too many hands in it, and that's where things are going to go awry.
Yep. Yeah.
I believe that any legalization is good legalization. As far as the cannabis
absolutely.
And hemp plant are concerned. And over time, all of the bad laws are going to be changed. I believe that to be true.
You believe that to be true? Man, you live in a great world, Todd. I want to come to your world sometime.
Maybe 50 years. You didn't say when.
Should come out of the dark side and come live in my world.
I live in the light, bro. I live in the light. I'm a white hat. Know that.
You mean a white hood?
No. A white hat. White hat.
Like a white hood.
White hat, Todd. White hat. No points on my hat. Just pointing fingers and calling.
It's the one on top.
Yeah, it's funny guy. Well, this is overall, I think it's a good story. We had one good story. Actually, 2 good stories today. Michael's story was pretty good, too.
Look at that. Good news for a change.
Good news. We may have some good news coming up next, but you're going to have to stay tuned and see what happens next. And we're going to roll into our final commercial, and we are going to be right back.
I just ordered the summertime strawberry salad when added steak on top here at Anna's. Make sure you do the same thing too next time you're in downtown Long Beach. Come on down and check out Anna's joint on the 400 block of Pine Street. They have amazing selection of beers, foods, and when you come down here to Anna's, you can even challenge me to a game of shuffleboard if you want to lose. Get that? So, next time you're in downtown Long Beach on Pine Avenue, make sure you stop by Anna's Joint on the 400 block. Not only do they have Anna's Joint, this restaurant and bar, but they also have the amazing deli next door, and then next door to that they have a very exotic flower shop. You may want to stop by and say hi.
I can't wait for
and we
channel
are
to
back.
really take off.
We are back, and we're going to roll right into Liz Quinn. Liz is a senior cannabis advocate who became passionate when she found herself in a very overwhelming cannabis industry with no help or education. And now, as a senior super stoner, she is lighting up the way by bringing education to seniors and bringing senior awareness to the cannabis industry. As the fastest and biggest growing demographic in the industry, they are the new target audience. That's right, is the Silver Surfer herself, Miss Liz Quinn.
Hey, team. Good morning over there on the West Coast, and good afternoon over here on the East. I've got a positive story. It's about endometriosis and cannabis. How a woman-led biotech firm is advancing cannabis medicine. Now, this is over in the UK. Millions of women around the world live with an incurable and poorly treated condition, and many are turning to cannabis products for relief despite inconsistent results and the risk of untested products. For Melissa Sturgis, the CEO of the London-based biotech firm Ananda Pharma, this situation presents an opportunity, she told MJ Biz Daily. Ananda Pharma is applying pharmaceutical-grade rigor to cannabinoid research to develop what could become the first regulator-approved CBD treatment for endometriosis. It's a painful condition where the uterine lining, like tissue, grows outside of the uterus. The path reflects a broader shift in cannabis. Credibility depends on proof, not promises, a point that's becoming harder for the industry to ignore. And she's absolutely right. We just need to prove ourselves. That's a theme Sturgis will amplify next month at MJ BizCon in Vegas. Along with other women who are leading health-focused companies in the cannabis space, she'll explain why the future belongs to operators who can quantify their impact and back every claim with results. A painful condition with no cure treated with cannabis. Endometriosis affects roughly 10% of women of reproductive age worldwide, and I've heard it as high as 17%. And this is according to the World Health Organization. This chronic disease has no cure, and treatment often results into symptom management. It also remains severely under-researched. Only 0.038% of the National Institute of Health research budget is dedicated to researching the condition, according to a recent estimate. To fill that gap, women are turning to CBD products for relief. But there is only one pharmaceutical-grade, regulator-approved CBD-based drugs, and as of now. And it's called Epidiolex, and it's prescribed for severe epilepsy. Meanwhile, many hemp oil-based formulations available are sold over the counter in the United States, including smoke shops and gas stations. That means unsuspecting buyers don't always know what they're getting, and the situation isn't much better, even within the patchwork of the state-regulated medical cannabis markets. Women kept demanding a cannabis-based medicine. Since cannabis remains federally illegal, research is stymied, and would-be cannabis medicines are shut out from the expensive and lengthy Food Drug Administration approval process. Cannabis products that do make claims of treating a condition or providing health benefits run the risk of penalties and fines. Despite all this, women kept coming to their doctors asking for CBD, Sturgis said, and the doctors went to Sturgis. We were approached by specialists who were being asked by patients to prescribe CBD for their chemotherapy-induced neuropathy and for endometriosis, she said. They came to us looking for a formulation that could be used in clinical trials. For Sturgis, that was a turning point. She realized broad patient access to medical cannabis would only come through a formal regulatory pathway. For its CBD-based treatment, Ananda is pursuing a full drug approval pathways in the UK, where most healthcare flows through the National Health Service. Unlike the US, where full insurance coverage for marijuana treatments remains a distant dream, the NHS does cover medical cannabis in the UK. Endometriosis, however, is not one of the conditions. And they only cover it for a small number of people for a small number of conditions. That's largely because the NHS reimburses only medicines proven in randomized controlled tests. For cannabis medicines, the incentive is clear: prove efficacy or remain outside the mainstream care. The success story with Epidiolex shows medicines derived from naturally sourced cannabinoids can meet full regulatory standards while delivering value for both patients and investors, Sturgis said. Building on that precedent, Sturgis focused on Ananda's efforts on a single indication, pain associated with endometriosis. The ultimate goal is to advance their leading formulation, MRX1, into a labeled therapeutic that's prescribable and reimbursable. The path forward for cannabis medicine. To do that, Ananda follows conventional biotech model with placebo-controlled design, standardized dosing, and measurable endpoints. Anaconda reached its first milestone this year with a healthy volunteer study in which 20 participants were dosed under hospital supervision. The findings from early-stage clinical testing will inform a larger patient trial planned for 2026. If successful, MRX1 could be the first cannabinoid-based prescription medicines developed specifically for a women's health plan. Sturgis says the milestone is already resonating with investors and regulators in the U.S. and abroad, move toward clearer medical pathways for cannabinoids. Now, I want to say something on a personal note here. With regarding women in cannabis, I went to an event. It was my first event back in March, and it was a Rise Up Women in Cannabis event. And I was just, very green and very new. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I had no direction, blah, blah, blah. By the end of it, I was amazed, and I was clearly focused on what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it. But during that event, there were about 70 people there. And out of those 70 people, I was one of four women who started their businesses after they were diagnosed with breast cancer. One opened a dispensary. One started making edibles, to help with the chemotherapy. Another one created a box that is safe and, that kids and pets and grandchildren can't get into. And I started advocacy for seniors. So I found 4 out of 71 to be an astronomical number of women and women with breast cancer starting businesses. As far as the endometriosis goes, I read that there is a proposal to create a endometriosis Care Act, where they will annually supply millions of dollars for research for endometriosis. I don't know if it's going to happen. Like I said, it's been proposed legislation, so we'll see. And if it does, will they test with cannabinoids and cannabis and CBD and so on? What do you guys think?
Well, I'm all about anything that helps women with cannabis. I'm always am for that, but I'm definitely not the expert in this topic. Expert in many topics.
I think as long as pregnant women are not taking Tylenol, then the world is safe again.
That's fair.
Yes,
that's fair. Todd. Tylenol can be really bad. Real bad.
No, it can't. There's no proof.
Honestly, I think the women in this industry doing things like this, everybody's they're coming into it with a passion, with a purpose, with a reason, with a history. And it's not always about, becoming rich and making money. It's about helping each other, coming up with things like this, for endometriosis and other conditions. There's so many conditions out there that are helped by cannabis. I walk around with a broken back. I have no disc between 2 vertebrae. I'm a hot mess. And cannabis is the only thing I use for pain relief.
That's amazing.
And it works.
That
and
is
it works.
amazing. That is truly, truly amazing. What do you think about this, Michael? You're on mute, buddy.
Yeah, I think it's great that there's just another illness that, cannabis shows some positive health benefits for, to continue to just shatter any belief that it should be a Schedule I substance. So I think it's absolutely great. And to be able to spread these things that people don't necessarily know, the lesser included diseases, I think that it helps. I think, is wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
So positive.
I love it. I told you. So look at that. We had another positive story. Look, I'm going to bring 3 negative stories, and you guys all brought up some positivity today to the show. That's great. That is great today. Todd, I have some other positive news. I just got a text message in regards.
He's muted.
Yeah, in regards with your story, Todd. You want to hear this? Did he freeze? Oh, are you on mute, Todd?
I think he's mute. Yeah.
I think he's on mute. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. Todd, you with us?
Nope.
Weird, Todd. We can't hear you. You hit something. You must have hit something. You probably set your kept down on a button and didn't realize it or something. But Todd, I do have some good news for you in regards with Governor Spanberger. I just got a text message about her from one of our viewers who was watching the show, and they're telling me that they are very familiar with her and with a number of people that she is close to, and they expect that she will do a phenomenal job with this rollout in Virginia. And so I am going to shift my position just a little bit and be very hopefully optimistic that she will do a fantastic job. And if she needs any of my help for anything, I want to make sure that I am putting that out there. If they need any of my help for anything, to help them make sure that they have a smooth rollout in Virginia, because Virginia is for lovers, Todd.
That's right. And seniors.
Yes. Well, I thought Florida is for seniors. You know what I'm saying?
She can't forget the seniors, so if she needs some advocacy there, I'm there too.
Yes.
I'm right with you, Jason.
Yeah. Florida is for seniors, because we all know that Florida is heaven's doormat. You know what I'm saying, Matthew?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
My daughter lives in Virginia.
Mm-hmm. I love Virginia. Virginia is a fantastic, fantastic place. They got beautiful homes out there. It's a great, great, great place to be. But I can tell you where is not a great place to be, you guys. You're going to love this. I hope you get your microphone fixed, Todd, because you're going to definitely want to comment on this. Because Morse Dean tells students to take their marijuana for a walk, you guys. That's right. In an email sent to students at Morse College on Tuesday, Dean Blake Trimble urged students to take marijuana use off campus amid health and safety concerns. Health and safety concerns? What are you guys talking about? Students in Morse College have been asked to smoke marijuana off campus. On Tuesday, an email sent on behalf of Morris Dean Blake Trimble brought up recent concerns about the frequent smell of marijuana in our college. In Connecticut, smoking marijuana is legal for adults ages 21 and over, but smoking on Yale's campus is not allowed, according to the university's policies. Trimble also asked students to consider the risk that smoking inside poses against fire safety. He wrote that many students and staff have made reports of in-college smoking incidents. Many of the members of our community have health conditions such as asthma, chronic bronchitis, and pregnancy, for whom the frequent smell of marijuana in the place they live is a real concern. Trimble wrote in the email, "In the future, please take a short walk off campus in order to smoke." In response to the email, Yale College Dean Persiles Lewis stated that the university's policy prohibiting the smoking of marijuana is standard across all colleges. However, it is at the discretion of each residential college's dean to communicate those policies to students, in a quote. "Even I don't know every single rule that we have," Lewis said. "But one of those rules we have is no smoking, no marijuana on campus. Clearly, people violate the regulations, and they need to be reminded."
Lewis admitted that he worries that marijuana is much less regulated than it used to be, he stated, though that students should be educated in the danger of smoking and excess drug use and alcohol use. Oshi Manara, 28, lives in Morse College and said that the email was informative and necessary to remind students to be considerate of their neighbors. We live in a community with different health needs and personal preferences, Manara said. If anything, weed is one of the few drugs you can truly use anywhere else in New Haven, so maybe just not on campus. Cannabis became legal in Connecticut for adult use purposes on July 1st of 2021. Well. I tell these people to kick rocks, and I'm just going to do what I'm going to do. And you know what? Whatever. Because unless you're going to expel me for using cannabis on campus, you can, you know what I'm saying? But I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this. Maybe that's one of the reasons.
That's like the only thing they ever violate.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's such ridiculousness. These people.
They can smell.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. They're complaining about the smell, Michael. They're not saying about carcinogenics in cannabis. They're saying the smell of it.
Mm-hmm.
How about the smell of like food that I don't like? Because that's something I don't like at all.
There we go, Jason. Another place that we need to do our terpene, perfume and air fresheners.
Oh yeah, all over the Yale campus. That would be the best.
case.
Oh, a little squirt here, a little squirt there. You know what I mean? A little spritz.
I'd like to test that out.
Mm-hmm. That would be phenomenal.
Especially in public bathrooms. Oh my God.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Todd, you got anything working over there? You no? I see your lips moving, but I'm not getting hearing anything.
Can you hear me now?
Oh yeah, yep. Hear you now, Todd. Yep, loud and clear.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
we did a whole product. We were developing out a product line of terpenes used for various things because terpenes do have really good properties to prevent antibacterial, anti-analgesic. They have lots of great properties. The problem with terpene products is that when you get them from cannabis, and when you get them from cannabis, it becomes so expensive, right? Mm-hmm. Because very small amounts of terpenes are produced in cannabis plants, when you compare it to a lemon or a mango or a pine tree,
mm-hmm.
right? So it just becomes way out of line for costing of these terpene products, even though I think it could be a great industry because it's not regulated at all.
Exactly.
So we created a bunch of products, and long story short of that, it just became too expensive to manufacture.
Yep. I'm selling weed perfume online just to piss everybody off, and it's legal. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to get you high. It's just going to make you smell good, and make everybody think make everyone think that you're high.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
so why
great.
you would want that, but
that's why I want that, just because it just to trigger people, Todd. Love to trigger people.
Just to spray it around like food that you don't want to smell, and if you walk into a bathroom and you don't like the way it smells, or if you walk into somebody else's room.
We'll have strain. We'll have
like the way it smells.
Yeah, we'll have fragrances like classic skunk. You know what I'm saying, Todd? It'll be fantastic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree with it. I love the smell of terpenes, so I'm a big fan, but it's just not feasible. And it's funny because your favorite governor, Ron DeSanctimonious,
he's not my favorite governor. He's not my favorite governor.
To pass cannabis because of the smell of cannabis. He didn't want Florida smelling like cannabis.
He is not my favorite governor. Just for the record, Todd. You know what I'm saying? I do like Governor DeSantis, but he's not my favorite governor.
I know you like his white boots. You're a big fan of those.
Stop.
He was okay, then he just went off the rails, man.
Yeah. He's we need to steer him a little bit. You know what I'm saying? We need to steer him a little bit.
Maybe when his wife got arrested, he started to get a little weird.
Oh man.
With that being said, happy Veterans Day, everyone.
Yes, exactly. Yes. With that said, happy Veterans Day.
And even to Ron DeSantis.
Mm-hmm.
And happy Veterans Day also to the veterans' families.
Yes.
We don't think about the sacrifices they make as well. The worry they go through, the stress they live under, moving, and they sacrifice for us as well. So to both the veterans and their families, thank you.
Without a doubt. Well said, Liz. Well said. And thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. And big shout out to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Huge thank you to Catalyst Cannabis for helping us keep the lights on, and thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing. Thank you to Cannabis Sativa L for giving us a reason to do this every day, and Cloud Media partners Elias and Gabriel, they're somewhere in the metaverse. And thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show. Happy Veterans Day.
Peace.